After Shanghai, a new round of epidemic in Beijing has been heating up since April 22nd, and the authorities have been escalating their preventative and control measures. A scene that was just played out in Shanghai is being replicated in the capital city. A video tweeted on May 21st showed residents of Nanxin neighborhood in Chaoyang district, Beijing, being taken away by dozens of buses overnight on May 20th. They were to be isolated. The community released news that more than 13,000 residents of Nanxin neighborhood had to be transferred to hotels for isolation on the 20th. The time of isolation is 7 days, from midnight on May 21st, and residents who do not cooperate with the isolation will have to bear the corresponding legal liabilities. This news from the authorities sparked strong dissatisfaction among the residents, and a heated discussion was raised in the neighborhood's WeChat group. One resident said that he and many other residents have been in isolation at home for 28 days since April 23rd, and all of them have been tested negative for nucleic acid. Now that they have been taken away, he feels scared, enraged, speechless, and helpless. With a resident population of more than 13,000, among which only 26 positive cases were found, and most of them were mild cases, the authorities still implemented such a sudden mass transfer of residents, including many elderly people, children, pregnant women, and those with other diseases. Many residents questioned what are the medical and legal basis. Besides, dozens of people were in the same bus compartment for transfer. If there was one positive case, all the passengers on board will be infected. Someone proposed to simply not open the door, and many people agreed. However, soon there was news that the water supply in the area had been cut off, so there was no other choice but to go to the isolation camps. It turned out that this was the authorities' new trick to prevent and control the epidemic, directly cutting off water supply to force residents to leave their homes. However, some netizens commented that even if water supply was not cut off, these naive people in Beijing are really not paying any attention to the struggles of the Shanghai people. Even sledgehammers were used to knock open residents' doors in Shanghai. Can your thin, single-layer steel door really withstand the hammer? After that, a video circulated on the internet showing that the residents of Nanxin community were transferred to the isolation site, only to find that no one would take care of them and nowhere for accommodation. Many people were dropped off at a curbside, including pregnant women and seniors. Another video circulating on the internet shows that residents of Dajing village in Fengtai district and Yuxinzhuang village in Shunyi district in Beijing were also taken away for isolation. On May 23rd, positive cases were reported in the French community Haidian district. 5,000 people were transferred. The pictures posted by netizens shows that the hotel, which the neighborhood committee claimed to be a good place to stay, is actually dirty and disorganized, with garbage left by the last group of people quarantined, as well as cockroaches and cobwebs. The tap water is muddy and the blankets are smelly. Currently, Fengtai district escalated their epidemic control level, and Haidian district also announced that on the 21st, tentatively from 12 o'clock noon to 12 o'clock on the 28th, the entire area of Haidian district to implement escalated control measures. All staff of companies in the district should work from home, and those who do not need to be on duty are required to hold a negative nucleic acid test report within 48 hours, and should only make trips directly from home to office and back. Except for essential services such as supermarkets and medical services, all indoor entertainment, fitness centers, and training institutions are closed. Shopping centers are closed, and dine-in is prohibited in restaurants. All communities and villages should be locked down, with 24-hour safeguarding. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. The netizens said on the surface people in Beijing are asked to work from home, but in reality the city has been locked down. According to the latest news from mainland media, on May 23rd, at a press conference on the prevention and control of the COVID-19 pandemic in Beijing, it was reported that since the outbreak on April 22nd, there have been 1,556 confirmed cases across all 16 districts. The most serious situation is in Chaoyang district, followed by Fangshan and Fengtai. 94 new cases were recorded in a single day on May 22nd in Beijing, reaching the peak of the current outbreak. At present, there have been 8 districts in Beijing in which people were asked to work from home. By the morning of May 23rd, in 4 out of the 6 districts that serve as the core capital function of Beijing, people were asked to work from home, leaving only Xicheng and Dongcheng districts, where Zhongnanhai is located. It seems like the hub is surrounded by the pandemic. Beijing has a population of 21.87 million, of which the 6 districts that are the first to work from home have a resident population of about 11.8 million, or more than half of Beijing's total population. And those who live in other districts but work in these districts are also affected. In fact, since the current outbreak began in Beijing on April 22nd, the government's preventative and control measures have been escalating step by step with the development of the pandemic. First, restaurants canceled dine-in and switched to takeout services. Public transportation routes and stops were also closed one after another. More than 100 subway stations in Beijing have been closed. In addition, all indoor cultural, entertainment, sports and fitness venues, offline training institutions, and shopping malls in the controlled areas have been closed. At the same time, all attractions in Beijing are closed, and university campuses as well. A more significant requirement is that from May 12th onwards, a 48-hour nucleic acid certificate is required to enter all kinds of public places, workplaces, and supermarkets in Beijing. On May 22nd, the Beijing Municipal Housing and Construction Commission issued a notice requiring that enterprises and stores in closed and controlled areas enforce the requirements of the district where they are located, suspend on-site business activities, and enforce the requirements of the district where they work from home. At the same time, the enterprises and stores are not allowed to do inter-district business and are required to reduce staff mobility. On the other hand, large-scale nucleic acid testing has also begun in earnest. In the past months, Beijing has gone through at least 6 rounds of mass nucleic acid testing, including at least 15 rounds in Chaoyang District, 16 rounds in Haidian District, and 13 rounds in Fengtai District, where the outbreak is severe. Now, residents in the closed areas are required to do daily nucleic acid testing. Beijing has gathered the best epidemiologists and disease control experts in China and has taken strict control measures, but the spread of the epidemic has not been contained, and the number of new infections is slowly increasing. The goal of 0 is unlikely to be reached. Numerous secondary disasters have been introduced by strict pandemic control measures, the most prominent of which is that patients in isolated areas cannot receive proper medical treatment. On May 17th, a netizen tweeted a request for help from a Beijing citizen. The citizen said that his grandfather had bladder cancer. His legs were swollen so badly and he had blood in his urine. Since Grandpa lives in the isolated area, he can only be sent to the designated hospital by ambulance every day, but the hospital cannot treat Grandpa's cancer. Calling the government's helpline 12345 to no avail. And the solutions given by the community also failed, so he had to ask for help online. On May 22nd, a beauty blogger in Beijing revealed on Weibo that she is suffering from terminal gastric cancer. She released her last photo to bid farewell to her friends. She said sadly that she lives in Chaoyang District and cannot seek medical treatment because of the pandemic control, so she may die at any time. She is now unable to meet with friends. I just hate my fate and sad that I died at the wrong time. While more and more people are questioning the authorities' policy of zero COVID, on May 23rd, the official media People's Daily published an op-ed titled "Dynamic Zero COVID is Sustainable and Must Be Adhered to," claiming that the Chinese government has formulated and implemented the general policy of dynamic zero COVID based on its own national conditions, to maximize the protection of people's lives and health. The article drew a lot of ridicule from netizens. A netizen wrote, "During the city closure, hospitals were closed, a large number of patients could not see a doctor, and pregnant women could not give birth to children without nucleic acid certificates. But you say you protect people's lives and health. Do you even believe that yourself?" Recently, many netizens have been reposting pictures and text that mock China's zero policy. For example, one person said, "All countries have stopped fighting the pandemic. But there is still one country that boasts to be the most successful in fighting against the pandemic, yet is still fighting the pandemic. Recently, there was also a popular joke on the internet, with the CCTV news broadcasts reporting daily how serious the pandemic was in the United States, with millions of deaths. The Chinese people were surprised how impressive Americans were, that they don't even take COVID-19 seriously. The Americans responded, "You're even more impressive in China. You don't take any disease seriously except for COVID-19. There are various signs recently that the dynamic zero policy of the Chinese Communist Party may continue for a long time. On May 9th, the State Council of the CCP requested that large cities establish 15-minute walking distance sampling circles for nucleic acid testing. This means that nucleic acid testing will be regular and long-term. At the same time, this will be a new infrastructure project involving trillions of dollars of financial capital that will sweep through all major cities in China. In addition, if all first and second tier cities in China were to implement regular nucleic acid testing, the cost would be $143.6 billion per month, or 1.7 trillion per year, which is more than the 1.37 trillion yuan spent by the CCP on military spending. And behind this hides a huge economic benefit. Nucleic acid tests have been falsified in various places. Some companies simply issue false positive reports in order to gain access to a wider range of nucleic acid testing opportunities. Others do not test at all and simply throw away the collected samples, then issue all negative reports, seriously undermining epidemic prevention. Currently, most of the nucleic acid testing programs in China are controlled by the powerful families of the CCP. No wonder some say that the epidemic in China will never end as long as nucleic acid testing is not stopped. On May 16th, Ma Qiaowei, director of China's Health Commission, dropped another shocker, saying that China will plan to build permanent cabin hospitals to isolate patients. On April 29th, according to a press conference held by the State Council office, as of April 25th, nearly 400 Fangcang hospitals had been completed and were under construction nationwide, with a total of about 560,000 beds. According to the engineers involved in the construction cost of the Fangcang hospital is not the same. For example, in Wuhan, state-funded 500 million RMB. The cost of a single bed in Leishanshan and Huoshenshan hospitals was as high as 192,000 RMB. In Shanghai, the cost of building 239,000 Fangcang beds in the current epidemic amounted to 5.92 billion RMB, with a single bed costing 24,769 RMB. On May 19th, according to the Henan government's procurement website Shangqiu, Henan province intends to spend 135 million yuan to build a permanent Fangcang hospital, which is required to be completed within 15 days. However, the epidemic data shows that as of May 22nd, there are 5 new cases in Shangqiu this year, 2 active cases currently, and a total confirmed case of 112. It was quite a surprise that Shangqiu became the first city in China to publicly respond to the construction of a permanent Fangcang hospital. China's zero-COVID policy has already hit the economy hard. China's key economic data fell sharply in April, with many indicators falling into negative growth and unemployment rising sharply. Exports and real estate are also in recession, seriously affecting local revenues, with Shenzhen's general public budget revenue down 44% year-on-year in April, Suzhou's down 49.6%, and many cities down more than 30%. The Shanghai government has not yet announced its April revenue, but it has announced that it issued 65.48 billion yuan in bonds on May 16th to cover the huge financial expenses of the pandemic prevention. However, under such circumstances, the authorities are proposing to build nucleic acid sampling circles and permanent Fangcang hospitals. The construction costs of the cabins and long-term costs of nucleic acid testing and Fangcang hospital operation will certainly increase the pressure on the local governments to balance its budget. When the government runs out of money, it will either collect more taxes, issue bonds, or print more money. In short, the final payer of the bill is still the common people, and behind such massive infrastructure projects implemented by the government, the officials in charge and the rich and powerful can make a lot of money yet again.